At Thanksgiving, my sister brushed me off as just lucky. Little did she realize I was actually her boss. The next day, her paycheck failed, and her career slammed the wall. You know that feeling when someone you love, someone who's supposed to have your back, casually guts you in front of your entire family? That gut punch was exactly what I felt this past Thanksgiving when my own sister, Emily, decided to tell everyone I was just lucky. What she didn't realize was that by the time the pie hit the table, her lucky streak and her job had officially run out. Because at that very moment, with a silent tap on my phone, I fired her. Let me rewind a bit, because this wasn't some snap decision. This story has been brewing for years. I'm 34, Emily's 30. We grew up in a pretty standard, middle-class suburban home. Our parents, both accountants, preached education and hard work, the classic American dream. They believed if you focused and put in the effort, success would follow. Good advice in theory. But Emily and I, we were just wired differently. I was the kid who saved every penny, mowed lawns to buy a better bike, always thinking ahead. Emily? She'd blow her allowance the day she got it, then beg our parents for more. In high school, I devoured investment books while she thumbed through celebrity magazines. College saw me working part-time jobs while she focused on her social life, barely scraping by. Look, I'm not saying I'm some saint. I'm not. I just had different priorities. I craved financial security, wanted to build something. Emily just wanted to have fun and figure things out later. Neither path is inherently wrong, but they lead to wildly different destinations. After college, I dove into renewable energy consulting. Sounds boring, right? But it was fascinating. I helped companies switch to solar and wind, doing all the financial analysis and project management. The industry was exploding and I was good at it. Within 4 years, I was handling major clients, pulling in a six-figure salary. But there's a ceiling when you work for someone else. You're always making them rich. I watched my boss buy his third vacation home while I got a 4% raise that barely beat inflation. I was generating millions for the company, getting a fraction of the value back. The math just didn't add up for me. So, at 27, I took a gamble my entire family thought was insane. I quit my comfortable corporate job to start my own renewable energy consulting firm. My boss actually laughed when I resigned. He swore I'd be back, begging for my old job within a year. He said the industry was too competitive, I lacked the contacts. His dismissive attitude? It was almost as motivating as my own ambition. That first year was brutal. 80-hour weeks were the norm. Ramen was a food group. I barely slept, constantly haunted by the thought that I'd made a colossal mistake. I maxed out 2 credit cards just to keep the business afloat, praying clients would come through. There were nights I sat at my laptop until 2 a.m., utterly exhausted, wondering if everyone who doubted me had been right. My parents were supportive, but you could see the worry in their eyes. At family gatherings, they'd see me, drained and stressed, and I could feel them questioning their encouragement. My dad would say, "There's no shame in going back to corporate, son, if this doesn't work out." He meant well, but it felt like he was already writing my defeat. Emily, though, she thought I was an absolute idiot for ditching a steady paycheck. She'd loudly tell anyone who'd listen that I'd fail, that I'd be crawling back to corporate life in 7 months tops. She'd crack jokes at family dinners about how I'd soon be applying for a job with her. You know, supportive sister energy. 8 months in, I had a measly $300 in my company account. A crucial proposal was due in 3 days. I hadn't paid myself in 4 months, living on credit cards and fumes. That was my rock bottom, sitting in my tiny, overpriced apartment, staring at a blank screen, wondering if I should just give up and start sending out resumes. But then, the proposal landed. A mid-sized manufacturing company wanted to go solar. It wasn't a huge deal, maybe $85,000, but it was enough. More importantly, they connected me to 4 other companies in their network. Those referrals snowballed. Suddenly, I had momentum. Spoiler alert, I didn't fail. By year 2, I'd secured 4 major contracts. By year 3, I was hiring staff and turning down work because we were at capacity. And now, 5 years later, I run a business with 25 employees, doing over $8 million in sales annually, personally clearing over $420,000 after all expenses and payroll. I still drive the same Honda Civic I bought used 5 years ago. I live in a nice, but not ostentatious, house. I don't wear fancy clothes or flash my money around. To look at me, you'd think I was just some regular guy with a regular job. And that's exactly how I like it. The people who matter, they know what I've built. Everyone else? They can think what they want. Emily, on the other hand, has had 8 different jobs in 7 years. She studied communications in college because it seemed easy, graduated with a 2.8 GPA and no real plan. Since then, it's been retail, restaurants, an insurance office, a gym, a marketing company that fired her after 4 months, and a few other places I honestly can't recall. She rarely stays anywhere for more than a year. There's always a reason. The job isn't for her. Her boss is terrible. She deserves more. 2 years ago, Emily showed up at my house on a Tuesday night crying. She'd just been fired again for being late too often. She needed rent money, or she'd be evicted. She promised to pay me back. She swore this was the wake-up call she needed to get her life together. I gave her the money. Not as a loan. I knew I'd never see it again, but because she was my sister, and I didn't want her homeless. I also told her, firmly, that I couldn't keep bailing her out. She needed to sort her life out. She nodded, thanked me, said she would. The very next week, she bought a brand new iPhone. Priorities. About 7 months later, she called, asking if I had any openings in my company. She hated her retail job, wanted something with better pay and benefits, an office job where she could feel professional and important. This right here was where I should have said no. Every rational bone in my body screamed, don't do it. Don't mix family and business. Don't hire someone with her track record. Just don't. But she's my sister. And my mom had been hinting pretty heavily that it would be so wonderful if I could help Emily. Emily sounded sincere, like she really wanted to make a change. So, against my better judgment, I created a position for her. I wasn't an idiot. I didn't give her anything critical. I made her a client services coordinator, a fancy title for someone who answers emails, schedules meetings, manages basic admin, and organizes customer contacts. It was an entry-level role, paying $45,000 a year with benefits. Good money for the work, and honestly, more than she'd ever made anywhere else. Before her first day, I sat her down and laid out clear expectations. Be on time. Respond to emails within 24 hours. Keep the client database updated. Communicate professionally. These are basic things every decent employee does. She nodded, said she understood, promised she wouldn't let me down. For the first month, she was great. Showed up early, stayed late, eager to learn. I actually started to wonder if I'd been wrong about her. Maybe she had turned a corner. Maybe working for family was the push she needed. Then month 2 hit, and the cracks started to show. A few minutes late at first, then 15, then 30, then an hour. When I talked to her, it was always an excuse. Traffic, her alarm didn't go off. She wasn't feeling well. Never her fault. Always some external force beyond her control. Her work quality plummeted too. Emails went unanswered for days. Client meetings were scheduled at the wrong times. The database became a mess of outdated information. My office manager, Sophia, who's been with me since year 1 and never complains unless there's a serious problem, came to me 3 times in 1 month about Emily. One time, Emily scheduled an important presentation with a potential client for 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. This client flew in from Nevada just for this meeting. At 1:45 p.m., our front desk called me. The conference room wasn't set up, and Emily was nowhere to be found. Turns out, she'd gone to lunch at noon and just never came back. No call, no text. I found out later she met some friends at the restaurant and just decided to hang out. She strolled in at 4 p.m. like nothing happened. I had to personally apologize to the client, reschedule their flight. We eventually got the contract, but only because I offered a substantial discount to make up for our lack of professionalism. That single incident cost me about $18,000 in lost revenue and almost ruined a relationship with a client who could have brought us years of repeat business. When I confronted Emily, she just shrugged. "I lost track of time, and I didn't think it was a big deal. You were there to handle the meeting anyway." She didn't think it was a big deal. A client flew across 3 states for a meeting she booked, and then she ghosted, and she thought it was no big deal. Another time, she sent an email to a prospective client with so many typos and grammatical errors, they called me asking if we were even a legitimate business. I had to explain we were training a new employee, which wasn't reflective of our standards. Emily had been there 4 months. This wasn't a new employee error. This was just pure laziness. I pulled Emily aside for a serious talk, not as her brother, but as her boss. I told her the lateness had to stop, the work quality needed to improve. She immediately got defensive. Said I was too harsh, didn't understand how demanding the job was. Even claimed Sophia was out to get her, jealous because Emily was the boss's sister. That last part almost made me laugh out loud. Sophia has no reason to be jealous of anyone. She's my right hand, making $95,000 a year plus bonuses, with actual equity in the company. But Emily always needed someone to blame. I gave her a formal written warning, documented everything, and told her if things didn't change in 30 days, we'd have to reevaluate her employment. She cried, promised to do better. Things improved for about 2 weeks, then slid right back into the old patterns. But it wasn't just her awful performance that got to me. It was her attitude. She constantly complained about how hard she had to work while taking hour-long lunches and spending half the day on her phone. She'd whine about being underpaid, even though she was earning more than market rate for her role and experience. She'd make snide comments about how easy it was for me as the owner, as if I just sat around counting money instead of working my butt off to keep everything running. My other employees started noticing. I'd hear whispers about Emily getting preferential treatment because she was family. And they were right. Any other employee with her track record would have been fired months ago. But I kept giving her chances because she was my sister. It was exactly as I'd been warned before I hired her. The final straw came about 3 months ago, just before Thanksgiving. A major client, a commercial real estate firm looking to put solar on 5 buildings, a potential $2.5 million deal over 2 years, sent Emily some questions about our proposal timeline. Simple stuff. When could we start? Payment plan? Could we use their vendors? Emily's job was to forward those questions to my team, get answers, and craft a professional response. Basic coordination. This was literally why I hired her. She never responded. Never did anything. The client called back a week later, slightly irritated. Still no response from Emily. They followed up again, this time directly with me, and they were furious. They were ready to walk away and take their $2.5 million project elsewhere. I only found out when the client called me personally, which should never happen. When I confronted Emily, she just said she was preoccupied with other tasks and forgot. Forgot a $2.5 million client. Forgot the fundamental task I paid her $45,000 a year to do. I spent 4 hours on the phone personally smoothing things over, apologizing profusely, offering them a discount for the inconvenience. I barely saved the contract, but the damage to our reputation was done. They'd remember how my company failed to respond to simple communications. I should have fired her right then. But Thanksgiving was 3 weeks away, and my mom kept asking if Emily and I were both coming to dinner. She was ecstatic that we were working together, constantly telling me how happy she was that I was helping my sister advance her career. I just couldn't bring myself to fire Emily right before the holidays and ruin my mom's Thanksgiving. So I decided to wait. I'd enjoy the holiday, then have a professional conversation with Emily the following week. I'd offer her a severance package, 2 months pay to ease her transition, and wish her well.
Clean.
Professional.
Kind even.
Then Thanksgiving dinner happened. My parents, Emily and her boyfriend David, my aunt, uncle, and 2 cousins. A typical family gathering. Mom had outdone herself with the food. Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, 3 kinds of pie. Everyone was in good spirits, laughing, joking. After we ate, we lingered at the table in that post-meal haze, too full to move, too comfortable to leave. Someone asked how my business was doing, just making conversation. I gave my usual, modest answer. Business was good, successful year, grateful for my clients and team. Just polite dinner talk. That's when Emily decided to chime in. Yeah, well, he got lucky. That's all it is. The table went silent. I looked at her, assuming I'd misheard, or she was joking. But she had this smile, the kind of smirk someone makes when they think they're about to drop a truth bomb. What do you mean? My dad asked, puzzled. Emily leaned back, puffing up, ready for her big speech. I mean, he acts like he's some brilliant businessman, but he just got lucky with timing. The renewable energy boom happened right when he started his company. He rode the wave. Anyone could have done what he did if they'd been in the right place at the right time. My uncle raised an eyebrow, said nothing. My mom looked uncomfortable. Emily's boyfriend, David, was nodding along, like she was sharing profound wisdom. I just sat there, waiting to see if she'd dig the hole deeper.
She did.
Honestly, if you look at it objectively, he's not even that smart about business, she continued, now on a roll, clearly loving her audience. Like, his whole strategy is just undercutting competitors on price. That's not genius. That's basic. A trained monkey could do what he does. Emily, my mom started, her voice strained, but Emily waved her away. No, it's true. Everyone acts like he's this amazing success story, but it's literally just luck. Right time, right industry, right circumstances. He works hard, sure, but so do lots of people who aren't successful. The difference is he got lucky. She looked directly at me as she said that last sentence, daring me to disagree. My cousins were staring at their plates, clearly uneasy. My dad looked like he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. My aunt gave Emily the kind of look you reserve for someone who's just insulted the host. But I didn't get angry. I didn't defend myself. I didn't argue. I just smiled. And nodded. You might be right, I said softly. Luck definitely played a role. Emily looked almost disappointed that I didn't take the bait. She clearly wanted a fight, wanted to put me on the defensive, so she could make her point about how I take myself too seriously, or whatever narrative she'd constructed in her head. Exactly, she said, feeling vindicated. People need to stop acting like he's special. He just got lucky. That's the truth. Well, my uncle interjected, clearly trying to change the subject. Lucky or not, it's working out well for him. For now, Emily sneered. But luck runs out eventually. Then we'll see how successful he really is. My mom suggested we move to the living room for pie. Everyone practically leaped at the chance to escape the awkward conversation. As everyone stood up, I pulled out my phone, pretending to check texts. I opened my company's HR management software. We use a system that lets me manage payroll, benefits, everything remotely. Very convenient. I went to Emily's employee profile, clicked employment status, changed it from active to terminated, put today's date as the end date, and in the reason field, I typed performance concerns and breach of company conduct policy. The app prompted me, confirm termination? I clicked yes. It asked if I wanted to process any final payments or severance. I clicked no. She'd get her last paycheck for hours worked, but that was it. No severance. No 2 months' pay. Nothing. The whole process took about 90 seconds. By the time I walked into the living room for pie, Emily had officially been separated from my company. Her access to our systems was automatically revoked. Her direct deposit, due the following Friday, was canceled. I sat down with my slice of pumpkin pie and listened as Emily continued to rant about how overrated I was. She moved on to criticizing my house, saying it was too modest for someone with my alleged income. Clearly, I was either lying about my money or too ignorant to know how to spend it wisely. One or the other. I just nodded and ate my pie. I didn't say a word about what I'd just done. Why should I? She'd find out soon enough. The rest of Thanksgiving was fine. Emily eventually moved on to other topics. We watched football. My dad fell asleep in his recliner. Classic Thanksgiving stuff. When Emily left that evening, she hugged Mom and Dad, said goodbye to everyone. She didn't even glance at me. I went home that night and had the best sleep I'd had in months. No regret. No second-guessing. Just pure satisfaction that I had finally made the decision I should have made months ago. Friday morning, I got to the office early. Sophia was already there, as always. I called her into my office and told her Emily was no longer with the company. Sophia's face showed a mix of relief and apprehension. She asked if I was okay. I told her I was, that it was overdue, and we'd need to redistribute Emily's tasks until we found a replacement. Sophia nodded. I'll handle it. And for what it's worth, you made the right call. She wasn't a good fit here. I know, I said. I should have done it sooner. We sent a quick email to the team that morning. Emily Turner is no longer with the company, effective immediately. Her tasks have been reallocated. All client inquiries should be routed to Sophia for coordination until further notice. Professional, to the point. Several employees stopped by my office that day. No one asked what happened. They all knew. They'd been watching Emily coast for months while they did the real work. A few even thanked me for finally addressing the situation. That stung a little, knowing my staff had been silently frustrated for so long because I'd let family loyalty cloud my judgment. The following Friday, Emily's direct deposit should have hit. At 2 p.m., my phone started blowing up. First text from Emily. Hey, my paycheck didn't deposit. Can you check with payroll? I didn't respond. I was in a client meeting. Second text 10 minutes later. Seriously, where's my paycheck? This is ridiculous. Third text 5 minutes later. I need that money today. I have bills to pay. Fix this now. Then she called. I declined it. She called again. Declined again. Then my office phone rang. Sophia answered, listened for a minute, then came into my office. Emily's on the line, Sophia said, clearly trying not to smile. She's very upset about her paycheck. Tell her to check her email, I replied. She should have received a termination notification last week. Sophia went back to her desk. I heard her deliver the message. Then I heard Emily's voice, loud enough for me to make out words over Sophia's phone. Sophia muttered something else and hung up. She says she never got any email, Sophia reported. And she's demanding to speak with you. Did you verify the termination email was sent? I asked. Sophia checked her computer. Sent Friday at 8 a.m. to her company email. Of course, I sighed. She probably hasn't checked it since Thanksgiving. Emily considered checking her work email optional. Another reason she was a terrible employee. If she calls back, tell her to check her company email for all relevant information regarding her termination. And if she continues to harass our office line, we'll need to block her number. Emily called back 3 times. Sophia gave her the same message each time, then finally blocked her number. Then Emily started messaging me directly. The text grew progressively more furious. You fired me? Are you kidding me right now? You can't just fire me without warning. That's illegal. Mom is going to hear about this.
Dad, too.
You're going to regret this. I can't believe you'd do this to your own sister. You're a terrible person. This is because I told the truth about you at Thanksgiving, isn't it? You're that petty. You owe me that paycheck. I worked for that money. I replied to just one text. You received your final paycheck for all hours worked up to your termination date on November 25th. Any questions about your termination should be directed to HR. Then, I muted the conversation. She tried calling my personal phone. I didn't answer. She called my office directly. Sophia intercepted her. She even showed up at my office on Monday morning, but our building is secured and requires a key card. Security called. Are you expecting Emily Turner?
No, I said.
She no longer works here. Please ask her to leave.
They did.
The real fireworks started when she called my parents. My mom called me that Monday evening just as I was leaving work. She sounded distraught. What's this about you firing Emily? She demanded. No, hello. No, how are you? Just straight to the accusation. It's true, I said. You fired her without even talking to her first? Without any warning. She had multiple warnings, Mom. Written documentation, performance improvement plans. I'd been trying to work with her for months. She chose not to improve. But she's your sister, my mother protested. And she was my employee, a bad employee. I gave her more chances than I would have given anyone else specifically because she's my sister, but I can't run a business on family sentiment. My mom was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Emily says you fired her because she said you got lucky at Thanksgiving. She thinks you're just being petty and vindictive. I actually chuckled. Mom, I fired her because she was bad at her job. She consistently showed up late, ignored client emails, created problems for my team, and cost me a major contract because she couldn't be bothered to do basic tasks. The Thanksgiving comment had nothing to do with it. She says you did it on your phone right there at dinner. I processed her termination on Thanksgiving, yes. But the decision was made weeks ago. I was planning to fire her that following Monday, anyway. Her little speech just moved up the timeline. You should have talked to her first, given her another chance. I gave her 6 months of chances, Mom. How many more did you want me to give her? My mother sighed. She's really struggling now. She doesn't have a job. She's behind on rent. She needs help. Then she should have thought about that before she decided to coast at the one job where someone actually gave her a real opportunity, I said, my voice firmer than I usually used with my mom. She's family, but I'm not her personal ATM. I helped her by giving her a good job with good pay. She threw that away. Those are consequences of her own choices. My mother didn't like that response. She tried the guilt trip, saying Emily was my younger sister and I should want to help her. I listened patiently, then told her I had to go. She wasn't happy, but she let me hang up. My dad called the next day. He was very direct. You need to give Emily her job back, he told me. No preamble. No, I don't, I answered. She's your sister. You can't just abandon her like this. I'm not abandoning her. I'm holding her accountable for her work performance. There's a difference. But she made one comment at Thanksgiving and you ruined her life over it. Dad, I have detailed records of every performance issue, every late arrival, every missed deadline, every client complaint. This has nothing to do with Thanksgiving and everything to do with 6 months of documented poor performance. Ask her about the $2.5 million client. She almost lost us because she couldn't be bothered to respond to an email. My father went silent. What client? I described the issue. Emily had ignored multiple emails from a large client, and I had to personally intervene to save the deal. How that was just one of many concerns. She never mentioned that. My father said softly. Of course she didn't. Because that would require her to take responsibility for her actions instead of blaming everyone else.
My father was quiet for a long time.
Then he said, Your mother is very upset about this. I'm sorry she's upset, but I made the right business decision. Emily was a liability to my company. I couldn't keep her on staff just because we share DNA. Family is supposed to support each other. I did support her, Dad. I gave her a job she wasn't qualified for. I paid her more than market rate. I gave her chance after chance to improve. At some point, support becomes enabling. I'm not going to enable her to coast through life expecting other people to carry her.
My father didn't have much to say to that.
He advised me to think about what I was doing before hanging up. Emily tried many more times to get me to rehire her, or at least offer severance. She sent me lengthy text messages about how unjust I was being, how I had never understood her, how everyone expected her to be like me but she couldn't live up to it, how I was successful because I'd had advantages she didn't have. I didn't reply to any of it. There was nothing to say. She had constructed a narrative where she was the victim and I was the villain, and nothing I said could change it. People believe what they choose to believe. About 2 weeks after I fired her, my mother called again. She sounded exhausted. I just want you to know that your father and I loaned Emily money for her rent. She says she's looking for a new job, but it's taking time. Okay, I responded. We're disappointed in how you've handled this situation. That's your right, Mom. But I stand by my decision. She's your sister. You should have helped her. I did help her for 6 months. I helped her. She chose not to help herself. My mother sighed. I don't think you understand how hard things are for her right now. I understand perfectly well. I also understand that she created this situation for herself. I'm sorry she's struggling, but those are the natural consequences of her choices. You've become very hard, my mother observed gently. No, Mom, I said. I've just learned that helping people who don't want to help themselves doesn't actually help them. It just enables them to keep making bad choices. We didn't talk for a while after that call. My parents were upset with me. Emily was telling everyone who would listen that I'd betrayed her. My aunt apparently thought I was too harsh. My uncle thought I'd done the right thing, but wasn't going to say so publicly because he didn't want to deal with my mom's reaction. But you know what? My business ran better without Emily there. Sophia hired a replacement within 4 weeks, a recent college grad named Rachel, who actually showed up on time, responded to emails, and treated her job with respect. Client communication improved dramatically. My team's morale went up. Everything just worked better. About a month later, I got a text from Emily. It was different from her previous furious messages.
Got a new job.
Starts Monday. Just wanted you to know I'm fine. I texted back, glad to hear it. Good luck with the new position. She didn't reply. I didn't expect her to. That was probably our last direct communication for a while. Maybe forever. Some bridges burn and stay burnt. My parents gradually started talking to me again, but things were still a little tight. Mom would call occasionally, and we'd talk about nothing in particular. Dad even sent me an article about a solar project he'd read about. Small attempts at normalcy, but the underlying tension remained. They'd made it clear they thought I was wrong. I made it clear I didn't care. Christmas was awkward as heck. We all gathered at my parents' place, because that's what families do. Emily was there with David. We didn't speak directly to each other. She spent the entire time on her phone or in quiet conversation with David. I spent time with my cousins, strategically avoiding the living room where Emily was stationed. At one point, my father tried to engineer a discussion between us. "Why don't you two talk and work this out?" he asked, as if we were kids arguing over a toy. Emily glared at me with cold eyes. I returned the stare with the same indifferent expression. Neither of us said anything. My father gave up and went back to watching football. Things got more interesting shortly after New Year's. Emily had evidently told David her version of the story. How I'd fired her out of jealousy and vindictiveness. How I couldn't handle her speaking the truth about my success. How I was a nasty person who abandoned my family. David, being the brilliant strategist he is, decided to help Emily exact retribution. He created a fake Google review for my company. Said we'd swindled his company out of $50,000 and never delivered on our promises. Claimed we were scammers running a phony enterprise. He even made up a fictitious business name to make it look real. The problem with David's brilliant plan? I had Google Alerts set up for my company's name. I saw the review within an hour of it being posted. I also saw that the account that posted it was created the same day and had only posted one review, indicating this wasn't exactly a complex operation. I took screenshots, documented everything, and reported the review to Google as fraudulent. It was deleted within 48 hours. Then I had my attorney send David a cease and desist letter for defamation and attempted harm to my company's reputation. The letter threatened potential legal action if he continued. Emily called me 2 days later, screaming that I was going to sue her boyfriend. I calmly reminded her that if her partner intended to commit actionable defamation, he should be prepared to face the consequences. Then I hung up. David seemed to have backed off after that. No more fake reviews or attempts at retribution. Turns out, threatening people with serious legal penalties makes them reassess their activities. In February, my mother called with some news. Emily was evicted from her apartment. She'd been staying with David, but their relationship had crumbled after the legal threat. She was now asking to move back in with our parents. My mother wondered if I would rethink employing Emily again. I said no. She asked if I would at least lend Emily money for a deposit. I said no again. She said I was being unkind. I told her that Emily had squandered every chance, humiliated me publicly, and had her boyfriend try to damage my business. At what point, Mom, I asked, does Emily become accountable for her own situation? My mother didn't have an answer. Emily, at 28 years old, moved back home. However, March brought the most satisfying results. Remember that major client, the one Emily almost lost us because she ignored their emails? The $2.5 million contract I'd barely saved? They came back with an expansion idea. They were so pleased with our work on their first 5 buildings that they asked us to manage another 12 properties. This deal was projected to be worth around $6 million over 3 years. During the contract signing meeting, the client's VP specifically praised our communication improvements over the past months. He notably appreciated our new client services coordinator for her responsiveness and professionalism. He said it was a 180-degree difference from their last encounter with us. I thanked him, mentioning that we had indeed made some staffing adjustments to better serve our customers. He nodded approvingly, commenting, "It showed." That single deal put us on track to generate more than $13 million in revenue this year. We were growing faster than I'd ever anticipated. I hired 3 more people, including a second project manager to handle the increased workload. Business was thriving. My mother eventually informed me that Emily was once again working at a department store, minimum wage plus commission. She was still living at home, complaining about how unfair life was, blaming everyone but herself. My parents stopped asking me to help her. I think, finally, they understood that no amount of money or opportunity would fix Emily's fundamental issue. She simply didn't want to do the work. In April, I received a message on LinkedIn from someone who used to work with Emily. He said Emily was telling people she had quit my firm because I was handling it unethically. She claimed she departed on principle, not because she was fired. I shared a professional update on LinkedIn shortly after about our company's expansion and the importance of upholding high standards. I didn't mention Emily's name, but everyone familiar with the situation understood. Following that post, 2 former coworkers reached out. Both stated they'd heard tales from Emily and were relieved to discover we were genuinely prospering. Her attempts to harm my reputation had completely failed. People in the industry talk, and when they saw my company's real success, it just made her look bitter and untrustworthy. By summer, everything had settled into a new routine. My firm now has 35 employees and an anticipated annual revenue exceeding $16 million. We moved to a larger office. I finally gave myself a raise and bought a newer car, still a Honda, but less beat up. My parents and I had achieved a peaceful truce. We occasionally discussed neutral topics. They had ceased justifying Emily's actions, partly because they could no longer ignore the pattern. My father actually apologized to me in June, said he understood why I made the decision I did. That mattered more than he knew. Emily was still living at home, bouncing between jobs. Last I heard, she'd been fired from the department store for being late too often. She had moved on to work at a call center. My mother stopped providing me updates unless I directly asked for them. In August, I saw David at a gas station. We made eye contact. He quickly glanced away and darted to his car. I just smiled and went about my day. Some fights are inevitable victories. The best part, though, happened in September. We received a significant industry award for innovative renewable energy consultancy. A ceremony was held, a gleaming trophy was awarded, and various trade journals covered the event. My team was ecstatic. Sophia cried happy tears. It was a powerful validation of all we had built. The award ceremony was held on a Thursday evening. The article was published Friday morning. By Friday afternoon, my phone was flooded with congratulatory messages from colleagues, old coworkers, and even some family members. My mother called that evening. She had seen the article. She said she was proud of me. Then she said something that genuinely surprised me. Emily saw the article, too. She didn't say anything, but I could see it on her face. I think she finally understands what she gave up. I didn't reply to that. There was nothing to say. Emily had made her choices. I had made mine. And the outcomes, well, they speak for themselves. Honestly, looking back, I still wonder if I handled everything the absolute best way, or if there was a path where I could have kept my family whole while still protecting my business. But when someone consistently undermines you and refuses to take responsibility, what are your options? What would you have done in my situation? Have you ever had to make a tough decision like this with family? I really want to hear your thoughts in the comments below.